we live in propaganda, and we don't have accurate information about us.
Dear friends, welcome to another edition of Forum 2000 Online Chat. I am Lucia Arguellova, and I'm happy to welcome here today Ana Karina López from Ecuador. Welcome, Ana Karina. It's a great pleasure meeting you in this online space.
Thank you.
Ana Karina is the founding partner and vice president of the board of Fundamedios, an organization that defends journalism from political power. She has specialized in political journalism for nearly 30 years. Her latest publication is El Séptimo Rafael, which is a non-authorized biography of the former president of Ecuador, Rafael Correa. This book was a success in Ecuador and was awarded the municipality's Book of the Year for journalism. So without further delays, Ana Karina, I would like to ask you my first question. Now that the presidency of Lenin Moreno ended, can we draw a comparison between the Correa administration and the Moreno administration in terms of limits to freedom of expression? I know that in 2013, your organization Fundamedios almost got dissolved by the government. Has there been more space for analytical and critical journalism in last years?
Of course, they were very, very different because even Moreno was the same party of political party of Rafael Correa. Moreno started a new relationship and a new era in freedom of expression. Because during Rafael Correa government, which began in 2007 and lasted 10 years, freedom of expression was one of the most repressed rights in Ecuador. From the beginning, his strategy, like that of any good populist, was to have a sparring, and his sparring was the media, the mass media. In his first campaign, when he was a stranger for everybody in the country, the media helped him to get there because he was also a very mediatic character. And like what happened with Donald Trump, for example, no? As soon as the first criticism or dissensions occurred, Correa began to attack the media. Until then, the media were one of the institutions with the greatest credibility in the country. His government managed through his speech to ruin the image of the traditional media. Correa attacked on several fronts. As he felt that his message did not arrive as he wanted, he established a direct communication that lasted between two and 3 hours every Saturday. And he said he speak with people, with his people in direct. But that was the first, stage of this attack, because in each Saturday he has the part of the communication named freedom of expression is for everybody. He was the freedom of expression. And then he also began to prosecute the press through justice. As the judicial powers were at his service, he managed to persecute media and journalists, paying special attention to not imprison them so as to not dismantle his international image. No, we don't have any journalist in prison in Ecuador, in his, no? And then we can cite some examples. He started with a headline of a newspaper that he did not like, and he wanted to find the newspaper with, 8,000 no, $800,000 of fine. Then he continued with a book about his brother's business, El Gran Hermano, or Big Brother, written by Juan Carlos Calderón and Cristian Zurita, and the most notably, the famous case of the newspaper El Universo, which he wanted a payment for undermining his dignity of $40 million fine and 3 years in jail for the journalist. It was about an article who was writing, and he was not agree with this article. After the sentence, the judicial sentence, he forgave the condemned. Well, he seemed to be very furious, but he was a very kind president to forgive everybody. And in addition, the government of the Citizen Revolution, that was the name of his government, he seized some media and created a large network of television channels and newspapers that were not public, but government propaganda. The last phase of the attack was the drafting of the communication law, which was approved in 2013. This allowed the government to establish the information that appears in the media and how they publish it, a norm that has been criticized by the United Nations as well as the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. The censorship was led to all traditional media to have a lawyer in their writing, to write each news. They were very hard times. With the arrival of Lenin Moreno, the media became free again, and although the communication law was still in force, it was practically no longer applied, and the first stage of dismantling this law began. So we began a new era with Moreno. We have the usual confrontation between the press and the government, but the persecution for the media was over.
Yeah, you basically are describing quite a significant change, or maybe improvement, even, let's call it that way, in the space for journalists and freedom of expression. But in 2019, during the massive October protests, Fundamedios reported over 100, I think even over 130, attacks against journalists and communicators. Does this mean there was anyways, a systematic effort to silence reporters and influence public opinion during these protests?
Those attacks were not from the government. No, all of them, but many of them were from the protesters. So the protesters attacked the press because in the October demonstration had a mixtures of popular discontent and serious political infiltrations by organizations that wanted to sow chaos, and there was a lot of Rafael Correa legacies of contempt for the media led to many of the attacks that took place during the October demonstrations. Everybody, and we have a lot of people who were in the Correa's side, so it was not so popular. It was very political. It was a confrontation against Moreno's government, who now he was in the other side of Correa. He was not his here. He doesn't continue with his politics, so Correa was very angry with him. So polarization throughout the world leads to this confrontation because the population does not feel represented in the media. In Latin America, this demonstration that multiplied last year, in Peru, in Ecuador, in Chile, and now continue in Colombia, had a mixture of popular discontent and a level of fatigue of the popular classes with the elites whom they identified with the media. During the demonstrations in Ecuador, this polarization was also evident in the media information and took on political overtones. The pro-Correa media broadcast massacres by the police, while the others tended to dilute the repression. The result was the people found themselves without real information.
Mm-hmm. So you're describing basically that there were kind of two narratives shown by the media, exactly. One of them by mass media, the other one maybe by individual broadcasters or independent reporters or even like social communicators. What was the stance of Fundamedios at the time? What type of information would be Fundamedios then reporting?
Okay, so Fundamedios had to have very accurate information because, even some institutions were penetrated by Correa. So the Defensoría del Pueblo, I don't know the translation. So they have wrong information. La Defensoría del Pueblo said we have, 13 persons who died in the manifestation, and it was not true. We didn't find 13 persons. We find, 9 people or 8 people. That was very different, but it was an information war that we have there. So Fundamedios have to have very, very a lot of precaution to make the information in those days. We have a service of fact checking that it worked very, very good in this case.
Mm-hmm. What would be then the situation today? You described that during the Correa presidency, he basically construct a system to support his own image. Then you described there was some kind of improvement during Moreno administration, while this kind of new environment permitted increased polarization and this kind of media war. What is the situation today? Who owns the media, the mass media, let's say? Like what is the let's say power behind them? What is the goal of this media today?
We have a very difficult situation here in Ecuador because we don't have anymore a very big empires of information, They continue to say that we have, but all the families in the traditional media, we have a very bad transition to the digital medias. So I think all the medias are lost in all his power. And in the other side, Rafael Correa official information machinery was overwhelming, leaving behind hundreds of institutional journalists or public relation members. And that time, in Correa's time, almost 30 ministries were created, and each one had at least a team of 30 people. That was the large and most powerful newsroom in the country. We are a tiny country of 17 million of persons and very, very tiny. And 200 journalists is a lot for a government. So that's the largest and most powerful newsroom. In addition to, we have to make a successful reform to the communication law. So I think the new government have to recycle all those journalists so they can make real information, because this is a country without good databases, for example. We don't know which does not know how to see that it really helps to form a country without data is the most important things. We live in propaganda, and we don't have accurate information about us. So I think that's the most important goal to the government, to the current government, and to make a good transformation of the communication law.
Mm-hmm. So you believe that maybe employing, let's say, more journalists on some kind of data collection and maybe new laws would also, let's say, contribute to a greater freedom of expression, maybe even depolarization of the environment? Or what else should the new government do to, let's say, depolarize the space and make sure that the information that is presented by the media is more true than a lie, or that it's not, let's say, in any way propagandistic?
I think yes, because it have to produce more transparent information. For example, in all the vaccines program, in Ecuador, you can know now what's the truth about this. Some people say in the social network that that's not working, and others say yes, it's working. And I don't know, the health ministry doesn't produce accurate information about this. For example, that is the most important goal in the actual government.
Also, Ecuador has several, let's say, human rights issues that reappear. For example, in United Nations, the civil society organizations report about the situation. Yet, it's according to them, it's not very common that these issues are talked about in the mass media. That, for example, minorities are their views are in mass media. That topics such as, let's say, gender violence and so on are not touched. So, is there a way how Ecuadorian media, mass media, could get more inclusive of these more marginalized topics?
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do about this, and I think traditional medias are failing in this, including information journalism. And I think all the digital media are doing a very good work, about rights and including minorities. And yeah, I think young people are doing a very good job in this kind of things. I have hope about this.
Thank you, Ana Karina. We will stay with this recommendation of yours of following the digital new media made by younger people. And with this, so thank you once more again for joining this online chat. With this, we are concluding.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.